Game week 12 in the Premier League. We have a bunch of bets and locks and discussion going into game week 12. Chris, welcome in. Happy international break. We're back with the Premier League. We are almost a third of the way through the season. Again, rotowire.com. I got the betting page pulled up, /betting/soccer. You can see all these odds and the line movement. Let's look at the line movement for Newcastle home against Manchester City. Standalone. Late match on Saturday, Newcastle. The odds on this we're weirdly, at what is this, November 5th? I think it might have been just before game week 11. Newcastle were plus 190 to win this one. Now they're plus 260. Just kind of feels like crazy odds. With Manchester City involved. Manchester City are now minus 105 to win. They were plus 130. So I assume people have been looking at this number and just betting Manchester City. That is over the international break. That's kind of my thoughts here, but I feel like this is going to be a tight match. Are you picking a side here on this?
The line movement has really affected where I'm at with this one. You mentioned how much it's moved for. How many people are taking Manchester City? Erling Haaland is just inevitable. He is looked like, he's back to, I guess not last season, but was that 2 seasons ago? He scored over the international break, put his team into the World Cup for the first time in many, many years. I just can't get past how good he is this season so far. So for that reason, I'm actually cooked up a little same game parlay. We got Haaland, anytime goal scorer, which is the odds are not terrible. If you want to do that as a standalone, they're not great, but they're not terrible. And then a Manchester City money line. We're getting plus 168 on those odds. And I just think City are pretty fit, aside from it looks like Rodri's questionable. Anthony Gordon is a question mark coming out for Newcastle, but I think Manchester City is just so much better. I am a little bit nervous about going to St. James Park. Tough place to play. They always seem to take points there, but I just think Man City are too good right now, and Haaland is on an all-time heater.
Yeah, I guess some of that line movement is fresh off that Liverpool match when Manchester City won that one. The Doku game is what I think it's being called, the Doku game. Yeah, so I think a lot of it is with that recent performance, though. City do have at least 3 goals in their last 4 matches, so that is something. I'm always just scared a little bit about just betting against Newcastle at St. James's Park at home, where they often play like a different team. I guess we're probably going to get Trippier against Doku, which is not a great matchup, so I'm not sure how that's going to go down. I don't think we don't have the Eddie Howe press conference yet as we're doing the show, so. And I don't think Livramento is even going to be ready to start if he's available. So I guess that's one thing. If you want to bet Manchester City, just be like, yeah, Doku's going against Kieran Trippier, who is on his last legs a little bit here. So I guess you could look at it like that, and maybe my bet here isn't a good idea, but I'm going under 2.5 goals, plus 115. You look at some of the recent results, and some of these games between these teams have led to a lot of goals, and I am definitely worried about Haaland's form. I'm worried about Doku just going wild again, which is possible, but I still like Newcastle at home with their midfield, the way that they like to dominate things and kind of impose their will. And I think that they're just going to kind of want to rough up this game a little bit. Kind of, we'll call it a muck up game here for Newcastle. And if you go earlier from all these games that Manchester City were scoring a bunch of goals in, the Liverpool, Dortmund game, Bournemouth game. If you go before that, there were some lower scoring games there for Manchester City. So that's kind of more of what I'm leaning on. And a lot of Newcastle games this season have been lower scoring. Their defense has been solid, but they really haven't been scoring goals too frequently or consistently. I think we're looking at either Manchester City 1-0, 2-0, or this is like a 1-1 kind of game. That's kind of where my head's at.
Yeah, I think it's like a Man City 2-0. That's what if I had to put anything down.
Sunday football. Arsenal went from their minus 245 just before the break. They went to minus 275. Then I think partly because we got a Gabriel injury. There's a Timber. Urian Timber got cleated in his knee or just below his knee, I believe it was. Now they're back down to minus 245 to win. Spurs at plus 650. I think these are just incredibly heavy odds here. For the North London derby, and just considering this isn't Spurs from last season when they're 16th, 17th in the table. Obviously, they've struggled scoring, but this is still a mostly healthy team that has a good defense. I think it's kind of just looking at all the numbers here. Minus 245 for Arsenal is a lot. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought, I always try to go check out our projected lineups before I kind of look at these. But yeah, there's 19 players on the injury list for these two teams. In Adam's showing it here on YouTube, but yeah, a lot of question marks. Some guys, for Spurs, like they have what 4 or 5 players out for a long period of time. It'll be interesting to see if Kudus plays. Bergvall had that concussion. I think he should be fine by now, right? That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he should be.
Should be fine and probably
Yeah.
should start. I would say so. That I don't know. I guess we'll see. Yeah, so question marks there, but even despite the injuries for Arsenal that maybe cropped up over the international break, I think Mascara has come in and looked like really, really good for them. I mean, he's shut down in that Arsenal Liverpool match, shut down Liverpool like pretty much completely, aside from that free kick. And then he showed up well in other games too. So maybe a minor step down in quality, but I still think he's good enough. And just they're like we said this before the season, but despite some injuries, like Arsenal is more prime than ever to have. Like they're just so deep, and so I think despite some of these things that you talked about, I think it shouldn't be a problem, and it won't be a major step down for them in quality or what the outcome might be. It is crazy to see Arsenal minus 245 though. I feel like
Big
this
number.
is typically like under 200, maybe like a minus 150 at home. So interesting to see how that's transpired, but I'm actually got to steer clear of any like sides here, and I'm taking a page out of Adam's book here. I was cooking up some corners bets pre-show. We've got over 10.5 corners is where the line is set. It's minus 125. Over 11.5 is plus 125. So that's kind of where you're targeting. I was looking at a couple of the previous results. Arsenal just continue to lead the Prem in corners. I think they've done it the last couple of seasons. Their line is set at over 7.5. It's plus 100. In the previous 4 matchups they've had with Tottenham, it's been 10 corners, 7 corners, 8 corners, 11 corners. I'm smashing this over 7.5 at plus 100. I just think that they'll have a lot of corners, like they tend to do. And then the other thing that I think is like this is more of a reason for me to steer clear of any Tottenham or Arsenal bets is like the odds makers expect Tottenham gets shut out here. Is kind of what I'm reading into it. They're over half a goal is minus 130, which is kind of interesting. Like usually you're seeing Tottenham. That's like pretty easy to hit for them. So I think they're expecting them to get shut out and to some degree. So I'm steering clear of that and just taking a corners bet.
Yeah, given how Arsenal's clean sheet run has gone, it makes sense that
totally
Spurs over under is fairly low. So they did have a friendly over the summer, but the last time they played, I got it up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. 2-1 Arsenal. They were minus 270 in this. This is this is January 15th, 2025. Minus 270 Arsenal. But look at the Spurs back line here. Dragusin, Archie Gray, and Kinski is what was the defense was looking like back then for Tottenham. So that's part, that's built into this spread, this line as well. So that one ended 2-1. Son got the opener actually, but looking at the Arsenal, I have gone raced to 9 corners in a couple recent Arsenal games, and I think it hit like maybe a month ago, but it just hasn't been hitting because they are getting goals and not racking up corners. The number just keeps going up here. Over 7.5 plus odds. I think that you really need either Spurs opening goal or just like Spurs to really sit back here so Arsenal get the corners. I am on under goals though. We basically have the two, I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly, but the 2 highest XG teams from set piece, 2 set piece XG, the two set piece teams in the league. A lot of Spurs goals have come from set pieces. A lot of Arsenal goals have come from set pieces. You removed Gabriel from this, arguably the most important piece to Arsenal set pieces. I think that's going to take away some. You throw in the Arsenal defense. Tottenham's defense has also been playing well. I think that, if you're counting on set piece goals in this game, I think that's, a pretty massive thing to bet on. But so we're looking at under 2.5 goals is minus 105. I like that one. If you go under 3.5 goals in Arsenal money line, that is also minus 105. I am a little scared of taking Arsenal money line here because I just think the 245 is too
Crazy.
much.
Yeah.
So you could, I guess, go Arsenal double chance and under 2.5. You'll be getting plus odds there. So this is another game that I like the under a little bit. We got good defenses against each other and attacks that we'll see with this Arsenal attack. If they don't get a set piece goal, can they do it from open play? Can Saka do it from open play? Can Mikel Merino? What is he going to be here from open play if he doesn't get his head on a corner or something like that? So overall, my favorite one is probably the under 2.5 at -105.
I don't hate that at all.
Yeah, what's your projection here?
Arsenal 2-0.
Arsenal 2-0.
I'm just smashing 2-0s on this version of the.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like that as well. I'll say 1-1. I'll say draw.
Wow.
Screw
Okay,
it.
taking the draw.